Hey everybody! Welcome! How are you?
It's exciting.
How are you today?
I'm very good, thank you. How are you?
I'm good.
Good.
So excited to be here
I know.
with you and having conversation. Feels so good. This is our 14th episode.
How the heck did that happen?
No, we are rocking the YouTube and the podcast live.
Okay, but you say that. We started out on YouTube.
Yeah.
We still need subscribers, please.
Yeah.
We're trying to get 100.
Subscribe,
Like. That's a good idea.
comment.
Hopefully someday we'll go back and listen and be like, oh, remember we didn't have 100. And so we still have our YouTube channel, but there is some exciting news happening. You mentioned a podcast.
Yeah, we're transferring all of our episodes to podcast format.
So exciting.
Make it more accessible.
So that's good.
So check it out. We're everywhere, peeps.
Everywhere.
So our topic today,
yes,
what we're going to be discussing are dragons.
Did you say dragons?
I did. Let's talk about dragons, friends.
That just seems like we've kind of succumbed to the whole pandemic thing and you just lost it.
I could be losing it.
But you're not. We're not. We're not.
We have intentionality with our topic today.
Yes, we do. I love it.
So why are we going to talk about dragons?
Well, because we want to help people. We want to help ourselves. And we really want to help people during this time especially. And then thinking about, and now we've had a little bit of conversation about, it's already kind of crazy.
Yeah.
There's already not a lot of margin in our mental wellness and our emotional wellness. And then we're going to enter into the holidays, which is exciting, but it's a lot. And it's a lot for a lot of people.
Yeah, and there's so many unknown variables and things are different and you still have your family dynamics at the heart of all that.
Yeah.
And something you said, I just want to mention, we have these conversations to help people, but they do help me too.
100%.
You go that way. Like
yes.
I know after we take a topic and just enjoy the dialogue and the rhetoric, I know I always feel so lifted and inspired from our conversation.
I do too.
So
I know when we're in training, we always say, we got introduced by mutual friends. Shout out Jana, thank you.
Jana.
And then we say we started talking and we've never stopped.
Yes, nonstop goodness.
All the time. So we say so many words about so many things, and I think it's important. When something bubbles to the top and we know that it has really worked for us and we start paying attention to how it's working for other people, that's usually what makes the short list then that we share it here.
For sure.
And this is one of those things.
Yeah, so talking about dragons and how that relates to noticing.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to unpack today.
It is. So noticing, I think, is pretty, at this point, if you're following I Am Noticed, you kind of know what noticing is. I see you, I hear you, you matter to me. And Jamie and I are always saying, you get more of what you notice. Mm-hmm. So we encourage the noticing of goodness because that's what we want, right? Is more goodness. And as we're thinking about our own confidence and then cultural confidence, man, to grow and cultivate goodness is so important. But at the end of the day, noticing is not just compliment giving. It's not just noticing your goodness. It's really more importantly, I see you, I hear you, and you matter to me.
Yeah, and I think infused in that is understanding people and why they do what they do. And that there's always a story. We've talked about that in prior episodes. And the quote comes to mind in this instance, like buckets full of grace, especially in 2020. So I think it's just, what you're choosing and being intentional about noticing. And then I think we should kind of give them some insight into the dragon.
So what happens when what you're noticing is a dragon, is a big thing, is a hard thing, is an uncomfortable thing, is a pain in the butt thing? What happens and what do you do with it? And could you just ignore it?
Yeah.
Would that work? So, here's why we're talking about dragons. This sweet book.
Yes.
So, a sweet friend sent it our way.
Good friend of mine sent that to us.
And when we first got it, to be honest, I'm like, I don't get it. I don't know. I mean, I do. I didn't read it yet. But I'm like, that's a gift. And so it's always nice to get a gift. But I didn't know how important it would be.
Yeah.
Until we read it.
And my friend, she didn't like put a note like, you're going to love this, just read it or anything. It was just like this book.
In an envelope.
Yeah. And there was just no communication with it. It was like, there's no such thing as dragons.
Okay. And so this story is adorable. If you, I don't know, if you have little kids in your life, I think it's a great book to have. If you don't have little kids in your life, I think it's a great book to have.
Whoever you are.
Like, because, you know, I don't know if you remember this, like when your kids were little, but like a lot of times you get the moral for your own little adult
like,
heart.
Ding, ding, like,
Yeah.
like,
Oh man, I wish I had known this sooner. While you're reading to children, so it's in such a sweet format. But it's about this little boy and his mom and this dragon. But the dragon doesn't start out like this.
No.
It's an important piece because most dragons don't start out big like that. It started out as this cute little dragon. Can you see that? If you're watching the video, you can see it. But if you're listening to the podcast, I just want to say that it literally starts out. Billy Bixby was rather surprised when he woke up one morning and found a dragon in his room. It was a small dragon, about the size of a kitten. That's just adorable.
It's just the cutest little dragon
So
sitting
adorable.
on the edge of a bed looking at this little boy, and he's kind of got his eyes big, like, what are you?
This is awesome.
And then he's like, okay, you're really sweet.
You're
Hold
really
on.
sweet. And he tells his mom about the dragon, and of course the mom, she's kind of doing her own thing, which
Yeah,
we've all been there, done that. She's making breakfast
Yeah,
or
she's
whatever.
doing her thing.
And she says, there's no such thing as dragons.
Silly Billy.
And when she says it, the dragon gets a little bigger.
Mm-hmm.
And this goes on all morning and into the day. Every time the dragon causes some commotion, because dragons do that.
Yeah.
The mom says it can't be the dragon. There's no such thing as dragons. And every time the dragon gets bigger. And there's a point when the dragon gets so big.
So you're in the middle of the book, and then this dragon is like kind of occupying the whole living room space. Basically. Mm-hmm.
And so the mom's trying to navigate around the dragon, still saying there's no such thing as dragons. I've been there, done that. Have you been there and done that?
Oh yeah.
Total denial. It's my optimism in high gear, right? Just like, nope. And the dragon gets so big, and at some point, the dragon gets hungry. And when the dragon stands up to go chase the bread truck because he's hungry,
The whole house. He's like inside the whole house, and the whole house moves.
kind of disrupting. And there's a lot of things like that about dragons, I think, that just dragons can be disruptive. So at some point toward the end of the story, I want to get you to the end. This dragon has gotten big and he's disrupted everything. And then the mom sees him, like really sees him. And when she does, the dragon shrinks back down to cute little kitten dragon size. And the mom says this is the last page of the book, not to be a spoiler, like we just spoiled the book.
That's okay. It's good.
But mom says, I don't mind dragons this size, but why did it have to grow so big? I'm not sure, said Billy, but I think it just wanted to be noticed. I love it.
And it's like the sweetest little picture of the mom. It's like holding the dragon and like petting it as if it were like a kitten.
And there's so many times in training that we'll talk about when something's hard, when you're not jiving with somebody, when someone's acting in a way that you think is obnoxious or arrogant. I don't know what else. I don't know how else you would describe that.
I think those are great things. The situation feels very exaggerated and big.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's like doesn't feel manageable, or like you could get your, there's whether you didn't have control over it or all the things. It just feels very grand.
Yeah. And a lot of times it started with a small thing.
Sure.
And so I think about that, like as a parent, I've experienced it. As a consumer, I mean, I bank at 4 different banks. I don't tell you this like you don't know this, because unfortunately you were like, I can't tell you the story like you didn't know it, because you were there.
I was there.
Like the day of, like probably the afternoon.
I heard the story. It was amazing.
But at a particular financial institution, I did not feel like the person was being helpful or cared that I needed help.
No.
And that person was really acting in a way that I had discerned was not working for me.
Yeah.
I was pushing my buttons, and I could have really easily flipped to judgment, and this person is not good at their job, and all the things. And because of the tools that we have, and because I use them, I really saw the person, and I kind of, it's an example in my mind of, it was this person who was getting bigger and bigger and bigger and more of a pain in my butt. And then once I saw this person and said, hey, I just want to thank you. I can tell that you are trying to make this work. I can tell that you're trying to put parts and pieces together for me. And she said, I'm glad you can tell that, because none of this is working the way it's supposed to. And so she had a story, she had a reason.
Absolutely.
Now, her tone totally changed, and I enjoyed working with her a lot more when she got noticed.
Yeah, but it almost, you say this so well, it created a leveling, right?
Yeah, leveled the playing field.
Leveled the playing field.
Yeah, it wasn't her or I, it wasn't me or her.
Yeah.
It was just us, two people trying to
Connected.
get along, yeah, and do business. And then I think the same is true in my family life, and I know you've shared that too with your kids.
Yeah, I think oftentimes if I will sense an extra neediness, and I've been there too, like I find myself maybe needing that just in my relationships, so it's not just like other people. But yeah, you are acting in ways that you wouldn't maybe otherwise act, or again, the situations just feel larger than life, larger than normal. So it's just taking a step back, and I think it's evaluating where you're at mentally, physically, in your surroundings, kind of checking in with yourself, and then getting in a space where you could choose to notice some kind of goodness.
Yeah, which is ultimately the tool. I think there's so many times where it's like, do we have the words to be able to communicate the gravity, the magnitude, how awesome these really simple tools are? No. it's so cool.
I know, it really is.
Wow.
Impressive. And I think I'm proud of us for creating a very simple cycle that can be applicable, but it does get a little mind-boggling to dissect the simplicity of the acts and then how effective they are.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And putting them on all these different frames.
Sure.
So like in that situation where, let's just say hypothetically, we're trying to help somebody learn. Right now I'm thinking that all of our educator friends, trying to help people learn, trying to help each other learn, trying to help yourself learn.
Yeah.
All of our parents, friends who are
so I mean, it's really
family
relatable.
members. Yeah. And then there's so many kids who are trying to help.
Sure.
So you're trying to help somebody. Let's say you're trying to help somebody, a student, and that student, because of their story and maybe all the things that have happened to them recently, is not cooperating.
Right.
Is not saying nice words. Is being a jerk. Is not doing what they need to do.
The nonverbals and verbals being communicated are, again, large, exaggerated, hard.
Yeah. So I can almost just like close my mind or close my eyes, not my mind, keep my mind open, close my eyes and imagine, a student. Like I went to do it and I thought of like a young student and an older student.
Yeah, it could be.
Think of a girl, think of a boy, think of a student, and that student is just angry or just crying or just frustrated.
Yeah.
How do you notice the dragon there? How do you not just like say, oh, it'll get better tomorrow? Because I think that's the toxic positivity, and that's what the mom did that made the dragon get so big.
Yeah, like he just doesn't exist. What are we talking about here? I think you have to acknowledge where they're at.
Yeah.
Like really, like you said, noticing is I see you, I hear you, and you matter. So to not discount what's happening with that person, I think is the first step, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Like I see that this is really difficult for you.
That ties into that trauma-informed language so much in that validation.
Yes.
And then we can move on.
Then we can kind of get into a productive space if it's time for that. I mean, I think it's just knowing
most
that,
importantly.
Individual. So I think this is applicable on a few levels. For you in the bank story, you didn't necessarily have a long-standing relationship with this bank associate. but you were able to use a strategy. I think what's so cool about this topic today is it really is, it can serve you in any capacity.
Yeah.
So it can serve you in those moments of a quick retail and exchange online or in person, because I know some of those instances can feel frustrating with like, you know, big companies, like their websites are having issues, all the things. So you just like kind of slow down. Not that anyway, but I think I could go a whole different way.
Yeah, you could. There's a lot to talk about there.
But when we're thinking about like education and the relationships we're building as educators with our learners, or as a family member with our family. I think this really works here too, with those when you already have a deep connection with somebody, or you're just getting to know. So I mean, I just think it's so cool. Like if you lay this on a scale of I don't know you to I really know you, it works.
So I think it does, and it's not that I disagree with you at all, so I hope you hear that. But I think when it's a family member that you've interacted with maybe for years, when you change it up and you try to notice that person and they're used to you like ignoring them or biting back.
Yeah, that's true.
You have to be ready to use your tools.
Well, there's going to be
for yourself
reciprocations.
Yes.
In any way you look at that. I love it that you're challenging that, but I just think it does.
My reason for challenging it is you are so good about being able to tie back in, you know, like to be able to notice goodness authentically, we have to be able to notice it in ourselves.
Sure.
So when you do try to notice goodness in someone, maybe even before you try to notice the dragon, that checking in with yourself piece.
You've got to notice the goodness in yourself first.
Yeah. And that's where those items come in.
And I think because we are normal humans, we're busy, we get going, it's more natural for us to, for some people, to give rather to others versus ourselves.
True.
So the hope here is that we take some time, not even necessarily like all that time invested right before the dragon exchange, but you're doing that work on a regular basis. We pride ourselves, and I have noticed, being proactive. So daily practices of positive self-talk, self-care, like taking care of yourself, all will help you in these instances where you have lots of dragons. And I think it's just a year of dragons.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, so just taking good care of yourself, so then you're, I think, in a healthier space to be able to support somebody who is in a hard space or just continuing to get big.
Like now is a great time to start being proactive if you haven't already.
Yeah, it's never
because then you can use these tools when you need to be reactive too, but they're just stronger,
right?
And come from a more authentic place if you have been doing the work,
right,
and practicing. And we call it work, but it's really quite enjoyable.
Yeah,
so
and just
I hope it doesn't have that connotation. Well, I love that. Okay, so
bringing it back in.
Yeah.
So we're talking about dragons. So you all can maybe visualize something in your life or someone. I mean, I kind of think COVID can be a dragon.
Sure.
I mean, you could put it on a thing just as much as like a person. It's interesting. So my mind could go lots of places with that. But just encouraging you all listening in or engaging with us today, think about a time when you've encountered something that's just been really big, and what do you do? What are your options?
Yeah, I think that checking in with yourself and being intentional, and then choosing to notice first, but intentionally noticing goodness. And not waiting till it gets fixed or it's all right or it's all good to notice goodness.
Yeah.
I think that's a big aha moment for a lot of people about noticing, because a lot of times we want to wait till it gets all good and then we'll notice goodness in it.
Interesting.
But what we focus on gets bigger.
But in this book,
in this case, that's kind of backwards.
So yeah, but it's interesting. The mom just so quickly just was like, oh, that's silly. There's no such thing as that. And then it took this whole day and these sequences, and then eventually the dragon just took over the whole house and moved it.
I think the mom in this relationship, I think that's probably a lot of moms can relate to that. We're like, I didn't realize this was that big of a deal for you.
Sure.
That's not a real thing, you know? That's not real stress. That's not real problems. But if it is to the person,
so yeah,
it's got to be acknowledged, like you said.
And kind of going back to that student. So the first step would be to acknowledge.
Yeah.
And what happens if that student is just like shut down and won't talk to you or won't engage?
Yeah, I think honoring where the person's at is huge.
Yeah.
And I think there's not, it's not intrusive to say, I just want you to know I noticed you. I just want you to know I see you and I hear you and you matter to me. I don't think that's intrusive.
I love that, actually. And I've used that strategy too. Like, I'm here when you're ready. Yeah. And I think just as much as a situation can get big, I think people can get quiet and go internal and not always want to communicate. So it doesn't always have to be like screaming and yelling. Or
oh, there's lots of ways to be a dragon.
Lots of ways to be a dragon. So I think I keep saying like it could be big. So maybe somebody could feel like they're feeling small. And that's just as dragonish. Sure. I know. I just want to hug that everybody right now.
I know. So good.
Chill in my pocket. So, what an interesting topic.
I know.
I know there's just like, I think it's so relatable, and again, thinking about, we can lay this over as learners, and then as we think about upcoming holidays, like Christmas is coming up, and that's going to look a lot different for people, and just that communication and those dynamics. And
I think it's almost sounds like a different episode, so maybe we have one more in us. You know, we have a few more. We're going to keep going, but it's almost as important in my mind to assume the best in people, assume everybody's doing the best that they can, and we've talked about that with everybody has a story and all the things. But I think as we go into this time, if someone is being a dragon, like acknowledging that person's doing the best that they can.
Absolutely.
Now, I have noticed is all about grace and accountability.
Sure.
So it's not like you get a carte blanche, you know, you get to be a dragon and ruin everything for everybody.
We talk
There's
about
consequences.
Yes, and we do talk about getting yourself in a good, strong space so that you know what's healthy there too.
Yes, absolutely.
Sure.
But if somebody's being a dragon and you can notice them and they can turn into a cute little kitten-sized dragon, then you can truly enjoy who they are and all those things, and it doesn't have to be as hard. Yeah. And so it can be enjoyable.
And for yourself too, if you find yourself in that dragon space, which gosh, again, so been there.
Me too.
I'd much rather be a sweet
kitten-sized dragon.
Kitten-sized. I would probably.
Oh, so this book is. We'll put it. I can put it in the link probably.
Yeah.
A link to it, but it's there's no such thing as a dragon, and it's by Jack Kent. And
Thanks, Jack.
It's a good little resource. So
very good.
Yes.
Okay, friends. So our call to action for you today
is to notice the goodness in yourself
and others,
even dragons,
even the dragons, and you.
Especially the dragons, maybe. And
if you're feeling like, yeah, okay, you girls are cute. Good job, you. But hey, listen, Linda, if you've got that going on right now, I hope you know that if you were in front of us, we would be like, I hear you, right? We see that. And
if it wasn't a challenge, we wouldn't be spending this much time talking about it.
Exactly. And I think the key to this call to action is the choice. You get to choose. You really do.
Yeah.
So hopefully you will choose that. And remember that everything we talk about is a practice. So just try it, practice it. It may feel good, it may not. It just, you kind of have to just jump in there and jump out, you know? Okay.
Figure it out. So good.
Thank you, guys. Any other thoughts?
No, so many. I know. We'll have to save them for next time.
Well, we appreciate you all so much.
Yes, we do.
I do. As I said in the beginning, I always get my cup filled with these conversations and this dialogue. And I think I'm going to go out of my way to notice some dragons maybe that I've had in my life that I wasn't even.
Do you have a few?
I think so.
Well, I think that to say that you don't, it's not real life
Yeah.
positivity.
For sure. So
And
true.
this is real life positivity.
It
so
is indeed.
we acknowledge all of it.
Well, we hope you are well and taking good care of yourself. Thanks for tuning in.
Bye.
Bye.